Kia ora hui hui anō tāta. Kia ora anō rā tātou nei nā manaki tana o te runa rawa. Ki hai ki nā kupu kōrero i te tīmatana kupu ko te atua te kupu, ko te atua anō te tīmatana me te whakaotina o nā mea kato. Nō reire kia whai korori e ki tōna ino. Tihei uri uri, tihei nako nako, ka tauha ki te rangi e tū i hone, ka tauha ki te papa e tako toa kene. Ka tauha te matuku mai raro tona ko ia i ruku hia manawa pau, roto ko ia i ruku hia manawa pau aho. Whakatīna kia tīna te more i Hawaii ki e pupu ana hoki e wawau ana hoki. Tā rewa tū ki te rangi aua eke panuku, haumi e, hui e, tai ki e. O tira i te whakaritera ki te ahuatana ki o tātou mate. Kia rātau nei rā ko huri atu ki tō te arai. Nā tōtara hai mata, nā manu tī ori oru nei nā waka, nā kakatara hai oru nei nā marae. Rātau nei rā kua matari ki tia. Aha, kua tipua e te o tāta, kua tipua e te māheu. Ko rātau rā wēnei e mihi tonu hia nei e tātou i raro i tēnei o tātou kaupapa. No reira nā koutou nā mate kua haere atu. Haere atu rā koutou ki Hawaii ki nui, Hawaii ki roa, Hawaii ki pāmamao. I te hui hui nā o te kahurani, ka o tia tua i koutou. No reira tau ārai ki te pō rātau ki a rātau, tī toko ki te ao mārama tātou te hunaora e tau nei, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou. Kia ora rā kia koutou katoa. Nau mai haramaira kina ki tēnei whakaaturana. Nau mai haramaira i nei te ahuatana i whakaritea i tēnei kaupapa mō tātou. Nō reira ka mihi ake rā ki nā uri o te moana nui a kiwa. Koutou nei rā i pōhiri mai nei te amatau i tēnei rā. Nō reira ka mihi atu rā ki a koutou. Kia orana ki a koutou. O tira ki a tātou katoa. Te whare wānana o tākau. O tira e noho nei raro i nā parirau o nai tahu Ngāti Māmo e Waitaha. O rātau nei rā te mana whenua o tēnei takiwā. Nō reira ka reku mea roa hia te kōrero. O te mea nui ke, te mihi atu ki a koutou. Nō reira tēnā koutou. Tēnā tātou katoa. So at this point of time, I'll take a prayer for us for tonight. So let us pray. E hua te matua te tama te wairua tapu e tuku whakamoi mita tune kia koe mō tēnei hui nā mātau i tēnei ahi. Nō reira kai tīnui kai te tani tuna kia koe kia tau mai rā tau manaki kuna ki tēnei o mātau. komiti tana e tō mātau atu. Nō reira kai tino e kai te tanitura si kia koe kia haere tonu koe ki wāninu i a mātau kia tapatahi ai o mātau nā kau kia koe. Nā te mea kōkōrero ke tia koe no te tīmatana rāno te ao. Kororia ki tō inua tapu. Amen. Tiaki na mātau e iho atu a uri whai ai o. Kia tata mai tau urina ki te whakaora i a mātau. Ara i a tia mātau nā whakawai nā te awa te kiko a te rewera. Mau hoki mātau e tipu ai tēnei i ao. Kororia ki tō inua tapu. Amen.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Nau mai, hare mai. Mālo e lelei, ni sambula vinaka, ta alofa lava. Kia orana. Noa ia, namaste, whakata alofa atu. And a warm Pacific greetings to everyone who's here today. My name's Letava Tafunai, and I'm the Associate Dean Pacific at the Dunedin School of Medicine, and myself and Xavier will be your MCs for tonight. So warm welcome. Just hand over to Xavier.
Warm Pacific greetings, and it's just wonderful to see you here on such a special occasion to acknowledge the work of Fred Hollows and the Fred Hollows Foundation New Zealand. Just want to make some acknowledgements. We have a lot of people we want to just acknowledge. Just like to acknowledge our University Kamātua, Hata, Timor, the Reverend Alofa Lahi, Associate Minister of First Church, Dr. Gabby Hollows, the wife of Fred Hollows, has come all the way from Sydney. So can we just give her just a round of applause? Acknowledge you coming all this way to just really acknowledge this is Fred's hometown and his home university, so it's just very special. Thank you for making the special trip out. Craig Fisher, board chair, Sir Martin Enright, trustee, Dr. John Szetu, the medical director and also our guest speaker, Mercy Hospital and Specsavers representatives and supporters of the foundation, and all the friends and of Fred Hollows and the foundation. From the university, we'd really like to acknowledge the university leadership for coming here. Professor Helen Nicholson, our Deputy Vice Chancellor, academic, thank you for coming. Professor Patricia Priest, Acting Pro Vice Chancellor, Division of Health Sciences. Professor Neil Gemmett, Acting Deputy Pro Vice Chancellor, Division of Sciences. Our Deans, Professor Ratan Subrahmanyam, a past Dean of Otago Medical School. Our community leaders, thank you for honouring us tonight, especially the Cook Island community for that beautiful welcome in, and other members of the community, general public and our community and our friends, university staff, students and ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Unfortunately, we do have some apologies for this evening. The Mayor, Aaron Hawkins, sends his apologies who would like to be here. Ingrid Leary, the Member of Parliament for Tairi, also sends her apologies. Dr. Audrey Umor, who's the CEO of the Fred Hollows Foundation, New Zealand, would have loved to be here, but she has some family reasons she needs to be in Fiji. Professor David Murdoch, who's our Vice Chancellor, is currently overseas and sends his apologies. Professor Tony Ballantyne, Deputy Vice Chancellor in External Engagement. Professor Whanwina Fatai Sapoana, Director of Aotearoa Centre Pacific Health, is in Fiji, in Samoa, and also Dr. Kiki Moate is our Associate Dean. So they all send their apologies. So there's a lot of people that would like to be here that we just acknowledge their presence. We're also live streaming. So if you missed anything, you can watch it again on replay or send your friends. So just also a special welcome to anybody on our live stream. So we're just going to go to some general housekeeping.
Back to me. So just some general housekeeping. So anyone needing the bathrooms, so just out these doors, and it's just around the back this way. Please, if anyone has a phone, can you please turn it off just for this time, if that's all right? If there's an earthquake or a fire, God help us. We've got the doors right here, and we will calmly lead you outside, if that's all right. We don't plan on any of that happening. But just before we start, just a little icebreaker. We're going to, can you hold this for me, please? Everyone just going to do, everyone knows how to do milli. I think we're ready. Before we start the rest of the formalities, I would really like to invite up Reverend Arofa to start us off with another prayer, if that's okay, to bless the evening.
Thank you very much. I'd like to acknowledge Ko mātua hata for your karakia, timata, that started us off with our words of welcome at our mihi whakatau, and I will now say an opening prayer for this next part. Let us pray. God of time and space, we ask your presence to be with us in this time and this space. Each one of us comes tonight with different things on our minds and on our hearts. We are conscious of those who come with hearts that are grieving, those who have experienced loss. And we ask, Lord, your comfort to surround them all. We are conscious of those who have travelled far and wide to be here tonight, and even near by. And we pray, Lord, for your presence to be strongly felt by us all. As we come into this space, may we be prepared to enjoy what is prepared for us. May we be enriched. May we be blessed by thoughts, words, and actions. And we pray, Lord, your continual presence to be with each and every one of us here tonight. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Alofa. Just like to invite to the stage our Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Academic, Professor Helen Nicholson for the University of Otago, just to say a few words. Thank you.
Ena mana ene nā reo e he roreka rangatira mā tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Helen Nicholson tōku ingoa, te pōkoko mataraka te whareo wanaka o Tāko. Nō reira tēnā koutou. Kia ora and warm Pacific greetings. My name's Helen Nicholson and I have the pleasure of being the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic here. And I'd like to warmly welcome you all to this very special lecture. It's a real pleasure for you all to be here, and particularly as this is the inaugural Fred Hollows inaugural lecture. So it's a special opportunity for us at the university to recognise one of our alumni and to particularly recognise Fred Hollows' pioneering work, and also to recognise the marquee that the Fred Hollows Foundation does, the way it undertakes eye health care and also trains the teams that will continue that work in the future. I too am delighted to welcome Dr. Gabby Hollows as patron of the Fred Hollows Foundation, and also Craig Fisher and Sir Martin Enright. And I look forward to John, to you speaking later this evening. I'd also like to acknowledge all of you who are friends and supporters of the Fred Hollows Foundation. So this is obviously our inaugural lecture to commemorate Fred Hollows, but it's also a time for us to deepen our relationship with the Fred Hollows University, so Fred Hollows Foundation. So later this evening we will be signing an MOU that marks that relationship between the university and the foundation. And that MOU recognises our desire for the two organisations to work more closely together, particularly in the Pacific. So the University of Otago is situated in the Pacific, and we're committed to helping our Pacific students to thrive and also supporting Pacific communities in Aotearoa, New Zealand and the wider region. And our relationship with the Fred Hollows Foundation reflects that commitment to our Pacific neighbours. And as part of that relationship, we'll be exploring the possibilities of some internships for some of our Pacific Health Science students in the Foundation centres in Fiji and other parts of the Pacific. You're probably aware that we already have close relationships with some parts of the Pacific, particularly with Fiji National University and the Cook Islands and the National University of Samoa. And I've been fortunate to be a member of the Council for the National University of Samoa for the last 6 years. And for me, this has been a very special experience, both personally and academically. It's really brought home to me the importance of true collaboration and the realisation that as New Zealanders, we may be able to provide expertise in some areas, but we have much to learn from our neighbours and colleagues in the Pacific. So before I hand over, I also would like to hope that this is just the beginning of the Fred Hollows Lectures, and that this can become an annual event where we can continue to celebrate the inspirational work of Fred Hollows and the Foundation. Nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa.
Thank you, Professor Nicholson. Just going to play a short video and really highlights the work of Fred Hollows. I'm a bit of a Fred Hollows geek fan, so I've watched a lot of videos over the years. So there's some amazing documentaries if you really want to watch much more, some beautiful 60 minutes. So this is just a summary of all his work, and just really appreciate how much of a heart he had for helping the most poorest people in this world.
That every eye is an eye. When you're doing the surgery there, that is just as important as if you were doing eye surgery on the Prime Minister or the King.
Just like to welcome to the stage the board chair of the Fred Hollows Foundation New Zealand, Craig Fisher, who will be speaking on behalf of Ojuma, CEO of the Fred Hollows Foundation. Thank you very much.
That's a hard act to follow, isn't it? Malole, Talofalava, Bulavanaka, Kia orana, and warm Pacific greetings to you all tonight. Kia ora tātou e te whānau, the Fred Hollows broader whānau, and University of Otago. I just get to say a few words tonight here to mark the milestone that is the 30th anniversary of the Fred Hollows Foundation being established, and the work of Fred. Fred is a son of Otipoti Dunedin. Fred is a son of University of Otago. Fred is a Kiwi icon. He's an Australian icon too. And I don't know if everyone knows here, but Fred is the only New Zealander to have been made Australian of the Year, which is a pretty special thing. So in the spirit of trans-Tasman sharing, we have shared our Kiwi son, Fred, with the Australians and, more importantly, with the world and with countries that need help because they don't have as good a health and education systems as we have here in New Zealand and in Australia. And that's driven Fred, and it's driven all of us who have been involved in the Fred Hollows Foundation since then to carry on his legacy. It's really important that I make a few acknowledgements. Firstly, the acknowledgement to Gabby Hollows. Gabby is our patron and a patron of the Australian Foundation as well. And more than a patron, she worked alongside Fred for years, and since Fred's sad passing has continued to work alongside everyone in the foundation, motivating, going beyond the call of duty to make sure that there's support wherever possible. So thank you, Gabby, for all that you have done. It really is appreciated. I'd also like to acknowledge another son of Dunedin, Associate Professor Gordon Sanderson, the late Gordon Sanderson, who was briefly a trustee of the Fred Hollows Foundation New Zealand and a beloved trustee. We all miss him desperately. He made such an impact in the time that he was with us, and we felt a real loss of the connection of Otago with the passing of Gordon. Also to note that Martin Enright, one of the other current trustees here at the moment, and the reason for noting Martin is twofold. Firstly, he's not a Sir, sorry. We do have a Sir on the board, but it's not him. It's another Martin, just to confuse things. But Martin is a third-generation graduate of the University of Otago. So I think that's pretty impressive, his parents and grandparents. So yeah, nice to have that linkage with Otago, isn't it? What I really want to do, though, quickly is to acknowledge that for all the good work that's been done, there's lots more to do in the Pacific. And there's good work being done, but there's always more. And we need help. We need partnerships. We need people to care. And thank you to all of you here that have cared in your special ways. But like Helen has said, I really hope that this can be the start of an inaugural annual lecture to ensure that we keep the icon of Fred Hollows and what he did and what he stood for alive, because that's really important. Globally, 9 out of 10 people that are blind don't need to be. And that's a pretty horrifying statistic. It can be relatively easily fixed. So we've still got work to do there. Blindness also is unfair. We did a rapid assessment of avoidable blindness in Papua New Guinea a little while ago, and that showed us that 61% of those that were blind were female. So that's quite an imbalance in terms of gender, and that sort of statistic happens in some other countries as well. So definitely something we need to address. We're really looking forward to engaging with the University of Otago, the community, the facility, the students, the alumni, and inviting really everyone to be a part of this sight-saving journey, because it is something that's practical and possible, and it's been proven that we can make a real difference. Wherever we can, we'd like to encourage especially Pacific medical students to actively get involved in this. There's opportunities for outreach to help hone the skills, to learn more, and maybe get inspired to actually work in some Pacific countries as well. So that would be a wonderful thing. But I'd just like to finish off with thanking all of the donors, because I met a couple of donors out here before, and people who quietly told me that they'd been donating for 20 years plus. That enables our team to train more doctors and nurses from the Pacific, for the Pacific, in the Pacific, to do the work that we do. So to each and every one of you who has helped in whatever way, thank you very much on behalf of the Foundation. We really appreciate it. Pass it back now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Craig. I'm really excited, really excited. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you've just shared, but thank you so much for coming on board, because we're fighting a fight, and you've mentioned what that fight is. And to have your involvement to help get more of our future doctors trained to do what you do, to do what the Foundation does, is really exciting. Just getting together with Joe and the team, and just whenever they talk about Fred and the Foundation, there's always so much passion and so much excitement, and we all want to work in an environment where everyone loves what they do, and we really feel it in the people that we've got to engage with just recently. So thank you so much, and definitely it's exciting for our Pacific training doctors, our Pacific students who are here at the University of Otago, to have this funding into the University of Otago to help get more of our trained, get more health professionals out with this vision to improve vision. So thank you very much. So we'd like to thank you, Craig. Thank you for what you've shared. And we have a small gift to give to you. Oh, yeah, thanks. Xavier. Would you please put our hands together for Craig? And please forgive me. We also have a gift for Kaumatua Hata. Thank you so much, Kaumatua. Grateful for you. I got a bit excited with the bright lights, so forgive me. And thank you very, very much, Reverend Alofa. Thank you so much for your alofa and always coming and supporting all our engagements. So we have a small gift for you as well. Thank you.
Okay, now we're on to the main act. All the way from the Solomon Islands, and we got told that Dunedin was a little chilly today, but he was looking forward to the snow. So we can give Dr. John Szetu a very big warm welcome. He's the medical director of the Fred Hollows Foundation New Zealand. He's been delivering eye care into the Pacific region for over 30 years, and when we think about an inaugural speaker, I don't think there's anybody more deserving, and we're very honoured that you've come all the way from the beautiful Solomon Islands to Otago, Dunedin. So thank you.
Thank you. Velveluleana kwangam donduru, kia ora, koto katoa, malo lele, warm Pacific greetings to you all here today. Thank you for the lovely introduction, Xavier, Dr. Xavier. Thank you so much to Otago University for hosting this wonderful event tonight. In particular, Va'a o Tatau. I'm very happy to be here tonight to deliver this first of hopefully many lectures in the future. When I started delivering eye care in the 80s, there were hardly any ophthalmologists or eye nurses in the Pacific Islands region. Eye care was virtually delivered by sporadic visiting international teams. There were very high levels of blindness in the region, blindness and including visual impairment, and a large backlog of treatable blindness, especially cataracts. Fast forward today, Fred Hollows Foundation New Zealand has trained 327 eye doctors and nurses from 13 different countries in the Pacific region, plus Timor-Leste. And interestingly, 80% of which are still active in eye care across the region. This is a very low attrition rate. This map shows the location of the graduates that the Fred Hollows has trained and continues to support also through its comprehensive workforce support program, where senior clinicians continue to mentor and provide continuous professional development support, many of whom are only eye care specialists in their clinics, or sometimes even for the whole country. So, who has brought us all here today and enabled this impact? Our visionary, Fred Hollows, and his wife, Gabby Hollows, who we are so privileged to have with us in attendance tonight. Gabby, you are the reason that Fred's legacy is so strong 30 years on, and the impact that your foundation has had is immeasurable. Professor Fred Hollows, put simply, is a real legend. Although I never had the privilege of working with him or meeting him, I wish that I did. It would have been amazing to learn some of the early techniques in surgery, in eye care, from Fred himself, watch him operate, as well as to have conversations about eye care in developing countries. The work of Fred Hollows, making eye care accessible to the poorer parts of the world through the manufacturing of affordable, high-quality intraocular lenses, has greatly inspired me throughout my career. For those who do not know, intraocular lenses are artificial lenses that replace the cataract lens during surgery. This is what the surgeons put in after removing the lenses. Now, back when I first started working in eye care, cataracts were removed and eyes were stitched up again with very thin nylon threads, sutures. And the patients were given thick glasses, very thick glasses, like the bottom of old Coke bottles. You don't see Coke bottles around now. Though the quality of the restored vision was not the same as with what we can give now, but still the vision is really great. It is still dramatic, the visual recovery. Patients can see well again after living in darkness for many, many years. They were very happy, even wearing the very thick cataract glasses. We call them plus 10s. That's the actual power of the glasses, plus 10.00. I recall the visiting teams bringing in intraocular lenses around the late 80s. That's when I was a young chap. I learned the techniques of inserting intraocular lenses in Adelaide at Flinders Medical Centre in Australia in the late 80s, where I was training for a year. I recall back in the Solomons, I used to save these intraocular lenses which the teams brought. After they leave, I save them for the special younger patients. Now we insert these lenses into every single eye that needs cataract surgery, cataract removed and lenses put in, thanks to the Fred Hollows Foundation, who started producing these lenses for the developing world in the intraocular lens laboratories in Nepal and Eritrea. He brought the prices down from, during those days it was $500, $600 US dollars. He brought the prices right down to $5 now, and in some places $4.50, making them really affordable. So clearly you can see that Fred was not only an ophthalmologist and a humanitarian, but he was also a savvy businessman. He knows the economics of it. Many in the ophthalmic community in Australia during those days, Australia and New Zealand, they were skeptical about the manufacturing and introduction of these lenses in the developing countries. They thought that it will never work. But Fred had a vision and was determined to make these lenses accessible and affordable to the rest of the world who could not afford it. In 1994, the Fred Hollows intraocular lenses laboratory was opened in Tilganga, in Nepal, where the Himalayas are, Mount Everest are. And in the same year, also in Eritrea, another laboratory was opened, manufacturing these special lenses. And both of these laboratories, these factories, are still in operation today, along with many others now doing the same thing. And this enables for us to provide good cataract surgery to millions of people. Sadly, Fred never got to see this reality, and he passed on, as you've heard, on. So just before that, before the Lens Labs opened, but the foundation was established still to keep Fred's dream alive. And I'm sure he would be astounded if he were here today to see the impact of his legacy across the world. As Gabby says, he would be doing cartwheels. I have been asked today to talk about my journey in eye care, including my 21 years at the Fred Hollows Foundation. I don't really like talking about myself very much, but I will do my best to share some of my story with you in the hope that perhaps inspiring some young, throbbing doctors and health professionals. So where did my journey start? I was a young doctor, fresh out of med school in 1984, and just completed my medical registration as a regional medical officer in Papua New Guinea. I returned home to the Solomon Islands in 1986 and started as a general doctor, covering the outpatients and emergency and surgery, looking after the peds ward as well. So I had to be multi-skilled and to be able to survive during those days. There was an extreme shortage of doctors, only a handful of local doctors, but many expats during those days. So a year later, I was assigned to the general surgery department, removing appendices, fixing bones, and sometimes doing cesarean sections. Of course, there were many photos of the early days. There were no smartphones then. There were limited digital cameras. And the photos that I did have were taken by a tsunami as a result of climate change. So it's the fault of climate change. We have to do something about climate change. In the early days, I really admired much the visiting teams from Australia and New Zealand, and also from Japan and other countries, Europe, UK, US, visiting the Solomons and the region, but mostly from the Australian and New Zealand teams. I was assigned to assist these teams, working with them and even accompanying them, peeping over their shoulders, observing and learning as much as I could. That's how I developed interest in ophthalmology. I was inspired by the dramatic transformation of blind patients who could suddenly see just after a 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes operation, you could transform somebody's lives very quickly. I had a few mentors like Dr. Kolsted, the late Dick Galbraith from the Aspect team, Dr. Richard Lemessurier, to mention a few. They taught me basic ophthalmology and eye surgery, such as cataract surgery. I got told that I had potential to be an eye surgeon. I thought that was big. That got me excited and my interest exploded. After I did a few procedures, I reassured myself, hey, this isn't too hard, this isn't impossible, I can do it. If the Tievaka can do it, I can too. In my language, Vaka means boat, and Tievaka means the boat people. Well, that's how the first white people came to our shores, by big boats, sailing ships, the Pakehas Waka. Back when I first started working in eye care, cataracts were removed and the eyes were stitched up again, and with very thin nylon sutures, and patients were given thick glasses. I think I have mentioned that already. I started providing some informal training over my 5 years in Vanuatu, half a dozen, and one eye doctor, and half a dozen nurses were trained, and 2 well-equipped eye clinics were established, which were still operational today. These photos are of the Vanuatu National Eye Center, which the foundation significantly upgraded in 2019. Dr. Kaso, Vanuatu's only ophthalmologist, is pictured on the right. So I began my love affair with ophthalmology. After the first 1 to 2 years, I got called the eye doctor without a qualification. But I was the only doctor in Solomon Islands who could fix eyes, who know how to treat basic eye conditions and do minor surgeries. Our Minister of Health thought that the skills I had acquired over the years was enough to attend to basic eye care needs and services for the hospital. I continued working as a sole eye care provider, eye care practitioner, working with visiting teams, self-learning and reading whatever textbooks I could get a hold of, and upskilling myself when visiting teams come. But I was not happy with this. I needed qualifications to be recognized and progress through a career pathway. This went on for more than 6 years. I used to ask myself, was my Minister of Health negligent? I decided to leave the service and made my way to PNG again. Once again, to undertake the postgraduate diploma in ophthalmology. I had no support from my government. I sponsored myself while supporting my family who came with me by working as a part-time at a local private practice while studying at the same time. After that, I pursued my master's training further abroad in Bristol in the UK. This is the Pacific Eye Institute, highly reputed training center and service provision center, which we have embedded within the Fiji health system and the Fiji National University. Although Fred Hollows continues to support the institute, it is now owned by the Fiji Minister of Health, CWM Hospital, and provides the facilities for the hospital's eye clinic as well, that replaced the old eye clinic, and provide professional training programs that now largely led and run by the Fiji's National University. So it was a collaboration with the Fiji National University, and now the FNU has taken over. Since 2007, we also been working with our close partner, the Divine Word University in Madang in PNG, to deliver higher quality specialist eye training. We are also providing support to the University of Papua New Guinea, which administers doctor training programs as well. Alongside support to training and service provision, the Pacific Eye Institute has become a center of support to surrounding Pacific Island countries as well, working in close partnership with ministries of health to strengthen eye care systems. The Institute undertakes coordination and planning, CPD, outreach, clinical governance, and maintains regional mentoring and support networks with our partners around the region. We have also supported the establishment of the PAC Eyes, the Pacific Eye Care Society, which is a professional body of eye care workers in the region. Now, the Pacific Eye Institute established a facility to support diabetic retinopathy as well, funded by the Fred Hollows Foundation. And this has been a hub for work throughout the region to provide training and support to diabetic retinopathy services, aiming to strengthen diabetic retinopathy prevention, screening, and early detection, and treatment and integration with NCD services. As you know, in the Pacific, NCDs, which means non-communicable disease, has exploded, and it's like a tsunami. Based out of PEI, the institute is also the mobile eye clinic, which is a state-of-the-art mobile clinic. It's about 11.5 meter long and has an operating theater. And this mobile eye clinic travels around the main island of Fiji, Viti-Levu, and also to Vanuatu as well, to provide sight-saving services outside of Suva. Another notable eye clinic is the Regional Eye Center in Honiara, Solomon Islands. In 2015, the Fred Hollows worked with the Solomon Islands Ministry of Health to build the Regional Eye Center. The center is now owned by the Solomon government and is run by a strong cadre of Solomon Islands eye doctors and nurses, most of whom were trained at the Pacific Eye Institute. The center is totally off-grid, means the power is totally supplied by solar, and also the water source is totally independent as well from the town supply in tanks, catching rainwater. So the foundation has built 7 eye clinics in the region and currently supporting 111 across 13 countries. So that is a lot of achievement. A lot has been done over the years. Now, over time, ophthalmologists and eye care nurses were trained to provide eye care services in their own country, as I've mentioned. Previously, they were depending on visiting teams coming. Now they can do it on their own. So these teams now provide more consistent and contextually appropriate eye care services in the appropriate manner to the Pacific Islands region. So the regional outreach team consists of Pacific ophthalmologists, ophthalmic nurses, and support staff. So to date, the Pacific outreach team has now conducted 62 regional outreaches. So that's a lot. So just a couple of weeks ago, just want to share with you, our team was in Samoa after a call from help from Samoa to support the Samoan ophthalmologist and her team to provide eye care services to the populations of Savai and Upolu. So there were a total of 306 surgeries were performed and hundreds of patients were screened, treated, examined and treated. And this is an all-time record. So the foundation has supported over 81 eye surgeries to date and over 1 million eye consultations in the Pacific region. That is a lot. Just to give you an idea of how challenging some of these outreach locations are, this is us many years ago. I was on outreach in Vanuatu, in Toba province. Toba province is the most northern part of the country. So it's not just like getting off a plane. These locations are incredibly remote. On this particular outreach, we had to take a long a boat ride, like a single dugout canoe, but bigger, made of fiberglass. We had to take this long boat and then travel for more than 3 hours. And we get to a location and we travel for another 3 hours by road, as you can see in the picture, carrying this eye equipment to get to the clinic, to set up camp and do surgery. So what is the current eye health situation in the Pacific? 10 million people live in the region, and about 10% are blind or visually impaired. This works out to be around 1 million people with visual impairment, including blindness. So that is a big load. That's a high patient load there. So while reliable prevalence data in the Pacific Islands is limited, recent studies show a significance of the problem. And our chair has already told you about the rapid assessment in PNG, which is quite very, very high, 5.6% of the population. So this is one of the highest rates globally. That is a concern. To make matters worse, more challenging, 7 out of 10 countries in the world with the highest prevalence of diabetes are located in the Pacific. As you know, diabetic retinopathy is a complication of diabetes. So this impacts on our work as well, bringing extra load of patients. And has been mentioned by previous speakers, 9 out of 10 people are blind. And they don't need to be blind because they are treatable. Something can be done for them. They don't have to be blind. But who's going to do the job? The economic impact of restoring sight is significant. PricewaterhouseCoopers research shows that for every dollar that is invested in trying to restore sight, in services to restore sight, $1, more than 4 times that is generated, injected back into the local economy. So that's some important economics there. That is because once vision is restored, people become productive again, and not only one person, if one person is blind, but also the carer is also relieved. So this is an economically viable solution and sustainable investment to spend some money on eye care so that we save a lot of money. So therefore, improving eye health contributes to achieving these sustainable development goals where people keep on yapping about. As formally recognized by the UN General Assembly in 2021. And this contributes to universal health coverage, which the World Health Organization keeps on talking about, asking member countries to work towards too. So eye health contributes to that. It is important to mention is the equitable burden of blindness, which is a pattern that we see globally, and it is particularly evident in the Pacific. You can see there on the graph, the blue bars are male prevalence rates, and the orange bars are female. So in PNG, 61% of blindness is experienced by women, yet they are less likely to have any intervention like cataract surgery or be given a pair of glasses. So this inequity is a concern. In addition to these high rates of avoidable blindness and visual impairment, there are many challenges in delivering eye care in the region, including shortage of eye nurses and ophthalmologists still in many countries, though we have trained, still there are gaps. And particularly of note, outside the capital cities, in the rural areas. And most doctors, they want to stay in the towns, in the cities. Let's take, for example, PNG. There are only approximately more than a dozen ophthalmologists for a population of 9 million, is it? So based on recommended standards, like WHO standards, PNG requires at least 80 ophthalmologists. There's only about 12, only about a dozen. That is a big task to train up this number. Scattered population is also a barrier. Isolated remote communities, meaning patients have to travel far and access eye care, some up to 2-3 days. Traveling in a boat for blind people in dugout canoes can be a nightmare for blind patients, elderly patients. In bigger continents like in Africa, India, people can walk from point A to B to receive services. But in the Pacific region, you have to travel by sea. And the problem is we haven't mastered the art of walking on the sea. I only know one person who can do that. Not a person, a higher being. High transportation costs. Like in Solomon's Vanuatu, they travel by these fiberglass canoes powered by two-stroke engines. That is very, very high mode of transport, high cost. So much waste. You go to the other places like Bangkok, they use these 4-stroke engines in the engines jutting onto the water. And those are 4 strokes, so they consume less fuel. And now fuel is skyrocketing thanks to the problems in Ukraine. Also, other contributing factors are fear of the unknown, maybe there's no carers, and there's poor health-seeking behaviors by Pacific people. Sometimes when you even go closer to them, they still cannot come. Climate change, natural disasters, tsunamis, disease outbreak. Look at the volcano in Tonga. That has disrupted a lot of services. So these are, I thought I'll just share with you some of these barriers. Also, one of the challenges I'd like to share with you is the health systems in each country are not well supported by their country's respective Ministry of Health because they don't prioritize eye health. So we aim to advocate and keep on knocking on doors for the various Ministry of Health to keep prioritizing eye care and to advocate for dedicated eye health resources in each country. Of course, government budgets are very stretched, very, very stretched, particularly now in the wake of COVID-19. There's some success in Solomon Islands where government support is strong. It is strong because people like us push hard. And in Solomons, they include budgetary provision for eye care services. So in fact, Solomon Islands is the only Pacific country which has a budget provision for eye care in the national health budget. Most countries still cannot make that happen. And budget for eye services are all pooled together in one bag and shared by all clinical specialties, which can be so difficult to make eye services move further. So in the Solomons, we have Fred Hollows Foundation and other health development partners support the budget, the national health budget. So if we ask question, so are the goal posts near? Where are we? What is the end game? Although we have come so far, there's still more to do, as our chair has mentioned. Countries have reached various levels of maturity in their eye care. But some of the vakas that we're traveling, some of the vakas are taking in water and need patching. The PNG Waka needs better sails and more hands on deck to make it sail on faster. So I'm here talking about vakas because we are just like a Pacific flotilla of vakas which has not reached its final destination yet, or the end of the journey. Now, unfortunately, COVID, the bad guy, has come in and disrupted everything, causing disruption to services. For 2 years, most Pacific countries are not doing anything. Services have been closed because of COVID. And this has caused significant backlogs. And coupled with very poor eye care budget, this is creating a lot of challenges. And many of the Pacific Island countries have repurposed budgets for the COVID effort. So eye care has been disadvantaged. COVID has taught us many lessons. We have to be resilient and adaptable. So I think we are much stronger now after COVID. We learned a lot of lessons. I have had to figure out how to deliver with our lecturers, how to mentor remotely because of COVID, and including supporting students to study remotely for the first time in their home countries. So there is a need for ongoing innovation to ensure eye care in the region is robust, resilient, particularly in the current challenging world. And it keeps on evolving. But the foundation cannot do it alone. We will continue to work closely, we need to, with our partners to ensure fully nationally determined and locally led, resilient and sustainable quality eye care can happen. Pacific country leaders will remain at the heart of the foundation work. We really need to maintain and strengthen partnerships. We must be realistic that supporting eye health system strengthening is a must and must continue to make sure that we sail on, we ensure that the sustainability of what we do still continues. But one thing is sure, one thing is for sure, we cannot stop until eye care is accessible to the people of the Pacific. It sounds like a difficult task to do. So to finish up, I will reflect a little bit, I think this is my last slide, on what I am most proud of. As of 2019, we now have at least one ophthalmologist in all the Pacific countries that we work in, with population of over 100,000, each one of these countries. So we have strong and long-standing partnerships with the training institutions, the tertiary institutions, the universities, and now with Otago. And all the Ministry of Health, because we can't do that, we cannot be driving this. We need to work with the Ministry of Health and make them also lead and drive this together. So we now have good young leaders in the region who are passionate and motivated. It has taken 20 years to build an amazing eye care workforce with our partners. 20 years. But it is in my dream that in the future, there will be greater resources from the Ministry of Health. I keep on saying Ministry of Health. Only then we will see, only then we will have the guarantee that eye care will be sustained into the future. It cannot happen by just doing one thing. It has to be coupled with so many others to make sure that it is really strong and ensure that it continues on beyond us. But for now, I know that when I slowly withdraw and step aside, eye care can still move forward with these young doctors who will continue to nurture the workforce, the growing workforce, and take care of eye care to the next level so we can finalize our vision of avoidable blindness and vision impairment. So maybe by then the flotilla of workers will reach the destination. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. John. So we're just going to open up for some questions, some time for questions. So just raise your hands and we'll pass the microphones around. Any questions in the... yes.
Thank you so much for sharing. I was just curious if you had a preference helping pediatric patients or elderly, or I just wanted to hear what's the most rewarding type of patient that you like working with.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you well. Can you repeat again, please?
Yes. Do you prefer working with pediatric patients or the elderly or the remote? For you, who is the most rewarding patient that you work with? I'm just curious.
Okay, thank you. We attend to all types of patients which come, but the commonest cause of blindness is cataracts, followed by refractive error. So yes, we do see pediatric patients as well, so we attend to them. And yes, we attend to all sorts of patients that come to us, whether it's pediatric or the elderlies. But just want to share with you that cataracts is the leading cause of blindness, so a lot of patients come with cataracts. So there's a lot more cataract surgery that needs to be done. But as pediatric patients come in, we attend to them as well.
Should have stayed up the stairs.
Thank you. I was just wondering, what were some of the preventative measures that you were talking about earlier? To do with like preventing the...
Sorry, you have to speak louder.
What were some of the preventative measures that that the foundation takes?
Some of the preventative measures that the foundation takes? Preventative measures. In everything we do, we always make sure that health promotion, awareness is in place in all the clinics that we work with. We consult patients as well, and we work with the Ministry of Health, working with the Ministry of Health in terms of having health promotion activities, awareness of the public, health, media talks, media like TVs and newspapers. But basically, the Ministry of Health in the region are leading health promotion, and if they are not, we knock on the doors and force ourselves in and gate crash to tell them, all right, we need health promotion for eyes as well, for blindness. So yes, we place health promotion activities in very important as well. I hope that answers your
Thank you.
question. Yeah.
Talofa lava. Thank you very much for a beautiful presentation. I actually have had cataracts myself, but my question was around what do you think is or are the drivers that are causing that gender disparity for cataracts occurring in females more often than males?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Good question. Cataract happens to anyone, including myself, irrespective of gender. It's just that these studies show that those presenting to the clinics, they are less females, they are more of males. So we have to, it's a concern to us, so we have to do something to address that. Is it health-seeking behavior? Is it because the women are kept at home doing cooking and all that? Or maybe because the men say, you stay home, cook, I go see the eye doctor. Or there's so many reasons why that is happening. So we try to address that as well by doing outreaches. We try to increase equity. We do outreaches closer to the community so that those who are left out can come, because we are going closer to their doorsteps. So these are some of the measures that we take. But yes, that's a good question. And yeah, we have to turn that around. We have to encourage women to come in, to have their eyes checked, to get the surgery done. You see, eye care surgery, usually people see it back in the Pacific region as like, it's part of aging. They say, it's okay, you don't need to. Every old people go blind, it's okay. You know, they sort of have that mentality, so we need to change that. Yeah? So that's why we talk to the Ministry of Health. No, eye care is all right. We try to present to them the economics of it. Yes, it's important to have eye care so that we fix the blind person. The carer is also freed up, and the economics of it sort of come in play, and to convince politicians, policymakers that eye care, it is good to invest in eye care because the returns are good. And cataract surgery is one of the most successful medical intervention because you see it straight away. It's dramatic. The change is, you do cataract surgery, you're very happy because you see the results straight away. Compared to other health medical procedures, you have to wait until you see the outcome. You have to wait long. So we try to preach that. We try to talk to our health colleagues, our bosses, and the politicians that it's not bad. Doing cataract surgery, providing for the blind is a good thing. It's good for our economy. It's good for our people. So when you restore a blind person's sight, you are relieving, you're restoring that other person who is caring for the blind. You're freeing that person up. So the blind person becomes productive, and the carer becomes productive as well. So it's like a double benefit. Yes, thank you.
Hi, thank you. When we were outside, I picked up your brochure that was there and had a quick flick through it. And I just wanted to see if I'm right in assuming that the work of the foundation could progress faster and wider if you had more access to funding. So I was sitting here thinking about the question, and I thought perhaps the way of accessing more funding probably comes from the grassroots people in New Zealand. And so one way I was wondering about addressing that is, could the foundation do something like an extensive Facebook campaign or social media campaign to meet the to put their need in front of a greater number of New Zealanders? Just a thought.
Yes, that's a really, really good question and a very important question, because yes, you are right. The dollar sign is important. No matter what we do, the dollar sign is very important because it makes it happen as well. You need the dollar sign, you need the money to train more people, you need the money to get more suppliers, you need the money for equipment, everything, training. So yes, we are very thankful to the generosity of the New Zealand public who give freely to the cause. Popular one is, you give $26, you help a blind person see again. That is quite popular because people see that $26 is very little, but if they put the $26, they can get a blind person see again. So that's quite a powerful tool, I would say. So yes, we need, and we are very fortunate that we have a lot of partners, we have a lot of stakeholders and a lot of donors who donate. We have kind New Zealand donors who come and put in money, and we have corporate donors as well. But yes, every single penny counts to move our cause, our mission, getting us closer to the goal post.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Szetu, for the amazing work that you're doing. I'm just wondering what's a patient journey looks like on a typical day at one of those outreach centers, sir.
Yes, so you would see in one of the slides in Vanuatu, for example, because the islands are scattered. Some, like in Fiji, you have two main islands, road system is good. Some countries, the road systems are not very good. So some have to travel by canoe, some have to travel by land, up the hills, the mountains, down across the rivers, up again. So they could be traveling for days. We have sometimes in parts of the Pacific where they could travel for 2 or 3 days to get to the center. So that is a challenge for patients. So sometimes the foundation moves in to help patients come closer. So we aid, we help with the transportation costs as well. And we've had donors who wanted to put in for transportation, because that is one of the challenges that impedes the work, reducing the patient's uptake of services. A nurse could go, a screening team can go. For example, quite a common scenario is the screening team goes and screens, say, 200 patients for surgery. And once the team goes in, only 60, 70 patients turn up because they had problem with access to services and all the challenges that I have shared with you in my talk. Fear of the unknown, carers not having time prioritizing eye care, and so many other things, transportation costs. So we try to remove some of these barriers so that it will increase the uptake of services, more people will come. But it's been difficult as well, coupled with health-seeking behaviors as well, and all these things put together. So so we need to address all these things, but we can't have the answer immediately. It's a long journey for us to keep on striving to try to remove some of those barriers as much as we can.
Malo tama ue fiafini, Dr. Szetu. I just want to acknowledge the work that you do with the foundation and in our Pacific communities. It's truly something special, and I know that a lot of us have family members that have experienced some sort of eyesight issues. Something that I wanted to touch on was a population that is often, I guess, outcasted, or people don't like to talk about them, and if we do, they're discriminated against because they're not citizens in our countries. And I don't only speak for people in New Zealand, I guess in layman terms, overstayers. I'll say it as it is, and I know people don't like to talk about it, but the reality of our Pacific peoples is we do exist in many countries as overstayers, and we do have eyesight problems. So my question that I'm posing to you this evening is the Fred Hollows Foundation a safe space for our families to come to you and work in partnership with our family members that are experiencing eyesight problems? Is this a safe space for us to come and work in partnership with you to help our family members?
Yes, I don't have all the answers for you, but the foundation can look at it to be able to support the families and families out there in the Pacific region as well. And sometimes when we go to visit one Pacific Island country, we've had requests from New Zealand saying, "Oh, I have got an auntie, I've got an uncle there, or I have this community here. Can they come?" So we tell them yes. Tell them we'll be arriving on so and so date, and we can provide surgery for them. But for Pacific people staying in New Zealand, I'm not sure how we can go about that, but I don't have answers for that. But I think it's something that needs to be explored and looked at, but I don't have the answer for you at the moment. But yes, partnerships, you can have a relationship with Fred Hollows Foundation, see how Pacific communities can receive this treatment. It's not rocket science. We can make that happen somehow. Like Fred Hollows is saying, nothing is impossible. We can do.
Hello, my name's Irene, and my sister and I are just here on behalf of the Solomon Island community in Dunedin. Dr. John, thank you so much for everything that you do and the work that you have done to inspire others. One of our really close friends is one of the ophthalmologists that works in the Honiara Eye Clinic, and her stories of the work that is done across the Solomons has majorly affected our family. We believe that you possibly did eye surgery on our own mother back in the day, and we have seen the wonderful work that the Fred Hollows Foundation does for our people and for our families. I can tell you that where I live, where our home village is many, many miles away. To travel to get there, you must travel by boat for 8 hours, by truck for 10 hours, and then canoe for another 2 or 3 hours. Our family members there are always lacking in eye care. The mobile facility is incredible, and the fact that our people can get access, it's not just about the ability to travel, It is the responsibilities that our family members have in the villages and their inability to be able to leave people that they're caring for or helping in order to go and get eye care. And I think that's another reason that women are unable to perhaps leave those duties and responsibilities to be able to go. So thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for your own sacrifices and for inspiring. And tagio bata.
Wow, it's so great to see my Wantoks here attend this lecture. I feel so good. Thank you for coming. And yes, I think I know where you come from. We never miss the destination. We always go there to do surgery. So I must have operated on your relative. Yeah. So it's a pleasure. Thank you.
We've got one more. It's good, all these questions, so it's good. But Dr. John will be around here afterwards as well. So yeah.
Doctor, I don't know whether I've got an incorrect impression, but it seems to me that the concentrated attention is on cataract surgery. But in your photographs, there are an awful lot of children. What sort of blindness do children contract? It's incomprehensible to me that little ones are blind. Why does this happen?
Yes, thank you. That's a good question. So you could see that one of the pictures is a child with cataract. So you can have cataract in children as well. So we do cataract surgery for the children as well. So that's we call that congenital cataracts. So it's not only elderly as well. I was talking about just numbers, that most of them, the leading cause globally and also in the Pacific is still cataracts. So where there is that so much volume, so much burden, so much patient load, we invest more on that, but we don't forget the others as well. So we still take care of the others, which are not as common as cataract. But yeah, just to share with you, United Nations now has increased the eye health up there. So they have passed a resolution that eye health must be included in all member countries' business as a program. And also the World Health Assembly has also increased its importance, placing importance in eye health as well. So they have asked all member countries, and all Pacific Island countries are member countries of WHO. And the targets they have given is that all countries by the year 2030 must increase cataract services and refractive error services by 30 to 40% point increase. So that is something. That is one message that I keep on reminding the policymakers, the Ministry of Health, that we need to start looking at that, because you guys, you signed up to it, and they will ask you to present what you have done for eye care, for eye health by 2030, by the year 2030. So that's WHO has challenged all the countries, including Pacific Island countries, to do something for eye health, for blindness by 2030, and they have to report back. So, yeah.
Such wonderful questions. So it's just great to see such a great round of questions. So just on behalf of everybody, just put a round of applause for Dr. John and all the critical work that he's doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have Just on behalf of the University in Vatatai, we're just like, oh no, there's I think there's two in there. That's one. Sorry, that's it. Double up. I'd just like to acknowledge you for all your fantastic work, and it's really good to see the Solomon Island community just acknowledging the very heartfelt message. I felt that a lot of this work is unspoken, and you're a humble servant of the Fred Hollows, and just thank you, and we bless you for your trip back to Solomon Islands and all the work you do with the Fred Hollows. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We have a surprise for you. Just to celebrate the amazing work that you do, Dr. Szetu, thank you. Thank you that you chose eye care. You could have done any surgery, but you chose eye care, and we're very grateful to you. We're very grateful that we can be here to have this time. We're about to be signing an MOU shortly, and in order to celebrate that, we want to dance. It is the Tongan Language Week, and we apologize. We did try to get a Tongan item, so apologize. There's a lot of functions going on right now this week, but next best thing, we got some Samoan communities. So from Samoa, the cradle of the Pacific, we have the Aumanga dance group. This dance group is made up of our students here at the University of Otago. One way of being able to, when you come away from home to study, being able to engage in your culture, to sing and dance is one way of getting through your studies. So this is a pretty awesome group that we've got that are going to be performing for you tonight. So can I welcome the Aumanga dance group? Aumanga, sawi up.
Testing. Cool. So while everyone is gonna walk in, we're just gonna have a little warm up, because it's pretty cold outside, eh? So what I'm gonna need everyone to do is just put your hands together, please. And when I say mili, you're gonna rub. So mili. Yeah, mili. So just warm it up, because it's really cold. Cool, and then when I say batia, you're gonna do one clap. So batia, batia, nice. And then when I say lua pati, you're gonna do two claps. So lua pati, lua pati. And when I say hey hey, you're gonna say ho. So hey hey, hey hey. Cool, so I'm gonna need a little bit more energy. Cool, so mili. Cool, mili, mili, mili. Batia, batia. Lua pati, hey hey, hey hey, nice, cool. So this is our Aumanga dance group. We are an all male and one female Pacifica dance group. Basically, our group was made on the basis of men's mental health, and so it's basically just a little home away from home, and it's a place where boys from different cultures can come and express themselves through traditional dance. So here we are, Aumanga, at your service. Thank you.
La Usamoa, o ia o lo whahavae. A o mai ni pua puanga, whaamalo situ maupea. O te alofa ia te oela Samoa.
Testing, testing. All right. Hey, hey. Oh, come on. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. All right. So this next dance and our final dance is with the only girl in our group, and she is our taupo, Henrietta, and she is our sister. And these are all our brothers. So everyone basically protects her, and this dance is danced by Eta. And before our dance begins, we would like to thank you all for having us tonight, and thank you Va'atautai for having us. It's truly a great honor to perform in front of everyone tonight. So thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed.
It was a wonderful performance, so really got us into the Pacific spirit of things. We're just going to go on to the next part of the item, and we're nearing the end, and this is where we're going to sign the Memorandum of Understanding. In the background we'll have a video, and I'll just have it on mute, just on there. So I would like just to invite Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic Helen Nicholson, Board Chair Craig Fisher, and we're going to sign the MOU. I don't really want to move that a little bit over there. And also just to acknowledge Gabby Hollows. Would you be able to also be present? Would that be okay with us while we sign this? So the Memorandum of Understanding is it's a significant document. It lays the platform for our future work with the foundation and the university. And the things that we are looking to do, obviously, is this annual lecture. We've also talked about having Pacific students go into the Fred Hollows clinics in the Pacific. Our hope is to get a increased Pacific people taking ophthalmology. Actually, we've got one of our Pacific Eye registrars just here. Luke, you would put your hand up. So we only have 2 Pacific Eye registrars in the whole country. So this is actually people that are on training programs to become eye surgeons. I think we only have 1 or 2 Pacific New Zealand-based ophthalmologists. So the Pacific actually has much more. So we've got to catch up. There's a big burden of need in this country as this is that. So just want to acknowledge this memorandum of understanding. So I'll just play this in the background. Put the sound on.
Health authorities here have recorded yet another first for the region. The opening of the Pacific Eye Institute today is expected to boost the efforts of health authorities in tackling the growing problem of blindness in the region. It should also address our shortage of eye specialists.
So we just wanted to acknowledge a very special person in the audience who's come all the way from Australia. So we have a little gift on behalf of the University of Otago and Wātātai just to acknowledge Gabby Hallows. Just please give Gabby Hallows a big round of applause. Thank you. So the evening's coming to a close, and we just really wanted to thank you all for coming. Before we do that, I would just like to invite the Reverend Alofalahi. Would you be able to graciously close us in prayer? That would be okay.
How about another round of applause for Dr. Szetu and the Fred Hollows Foundation, New Zealand. And how about we all stand? We've been sitting for a while, so let's stand. Let us pray. Loving and gracious God, we give thanks for those who have offered their lives to help others, and especially in this very special area of eye care. We give thanks for the vision that Fred and Gabby had so many years ago that has now led us to be here in this space and in this time. We pray, Lord, that you will continue to be with those who are working in this area of restoring needless blindness, so that many can enjoy the basic human rights of being able to see their loved ones, being able to see their surroundings and enjoy quality of life. We pray your blessings upon Dr. Szetu and the crew at Fred Hollows, New Zealand and Australia. And we ask, Lord, that you watch over each and every one of us as we leave this place to go to our homes or to go to other places. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Reverend Alofa. Have a seat. Thank you so much for this evening. Just wanted to say thank you. Just wanted to say thank you, Dr. Szetu, once again. Thank you for coming all the way from Honiara. Halo, halongata. Thank you for all that you do. I'm really grateful you chose the eye because you've helped so many, and how beautiful that two of your patients' family members are here to give their thanks. Thank you to the Pacific communities who are here. I know that a lot of us here are related to someone who has been able to benefit from the surgeries that Fred, Gabby, the team, John, all that you have done, and we are so thankful. So thank you to the Pacific communities for representing our homelands, where Fred Hollows works. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you so much again to the Fred Hollows Foundation. Thank you not only for just funding tonight, for paying for our food and our drink and all of this, but thank you for so much more. Thank you that we're moving forward with this. Thank you for bringing us on board to fight the fight. There's still so much more to do. You've done so much already. Thank you, Gabby, and thank you so much to the late Fred Hollows. Actually, before I go on, can we please put our hands together for a great man that has started this? So thank you. I'm really quite excited. I did say Pacific Future Doctors, but we are trying to look at how to work this into our curriculum with Pacific Health. We're excited that we can have this lecture annually. So not just here in Dunedin, but in Wellington and in Christchurch, which is why we have our associate deans here as well, to look at how to do that. And so not just for our future Pacific doctors, but all future doctors who graduate out of the University of Otago, to get everyone on board. The more people on board is what we strive to do. All future doctors, all future health professionals. We know it's a team effort. It's not just doctors who are involved in this. So doctors and nurses and allied healthcare. So we look in involving everybody, and we thank you. Thank you so much. Once again, please, we can do a lot. Patsi patsi mai.
I just want to, just behind the scenes, there's a lot of people in the Fred Hollows organisation that's made this, a lot of hours work, and also with alumni, with Kerry and the team there, Kirsten, Wawa, Joe. Just really appreciate a lot of work coming behind the scenes. So thank you for making this happen, and really appreciate all of you coming out on a busy night just to share this special moment with us, and we all wish you all the very best. Okay.
And one last thank you, I think, for just getting the talks going. Thank you to Audrey Omea. Sorry that she's not here with us today, and we are with her and with her family right now. Thoughts and prayers with them. But also, so thank you to Dr. Audrey Omea. Thank you, Xavier, Dr. Xavier Walker. Kick me later. And Dr. Ratan Subramaniam, who started the talks initially. And here we are over about a year now, and it's happening. So thank you very much. We're very grateful. So if we can put our hands together for everybody.
Just also thank you, our kamatoa, manawa whenua, just Hatam, just thank you so much for attending. We wish you all the very best. Have a safe journey for wherever you go, and we look forward to seeing you next year. Have a lovely evening. Malo pito. Happy Tongan Language Week.